talking about, where you go from here and how we can build hope. Brian, I saw on your Twitter account some talk about the former Vikings coach and the former Cowboys DC, Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting the vibe that, yesterday you had Joe Witt interview for the Seattle job. And so that kind of got me wondering here, because I know Joe was a guy that was maybe talked about as being an in-house guy. Him, George Edwards as a couple of those guys that I felt like you kind of needed to keep your eye on. I think Dan Quinn's out of here. I do. I think Dan Quinn's going to end up in Denver. I think all these jobs, I think he's going to end up the one he really, really wanted. Denver. Bobby Belt was on this from word go. Denver, Seattle were the two jobs. I think he got the interview that he wanted. I think he's going to get that one. So that leaves you with a defensive coordinator job opening. Kind of felt like that maybe Mike McCarthy would go in-house. But I'm starting to hear a little bit more about Mike Zimmer as a possibility. And you talked about Mike McCarthy, Mike Zimmer. They competed against each other. This could be very similar to what you had with Dan Quinn. Not that Mike and Dan competed against each other, but the former head coach coming in whose specialty is defense. And that's Mike's areas of expertise. It would mean that they would stay the same because Mike is a 4-3 coach. Mike also, though, has the understanding. If you remember Anthony Barr, who plays linebacker, kind of a rush-in hybrid player for the Vikings, very similar to what people in Minnesota believe that their Micah Parsons was going to be Anthony Barr. But here you have Mike Zimmer. He has an understanding of how to use guys in various roles. He has familiarity with the organization, with ownership, front office, and all that. That seems like to be the fit that might be the one that leads to your defensive coordinator being replaced.
At this point, I don't hate it. He's had really good defenses with Minnesota. I mean, the problem was asking his offense, I think, to complement the defense by running it so much. And maybe it was part of a pretty good winning strategy for them, but I don't think their ceiling was high enough. Maybe that's Kirk Cousins. Maybe that's ultimately the reason that he got let go. But I also want to be open-minded because Dan Quinn's offseason is what made him the coach that he was. He had a track record of success running his version of the Tampa 2 in Seattle and Atlanta and remade it. Is Mike Zimmer at that point in time, or is he going to run an antiquated version of that same defensive principles?
Yeah, I think, that would be if you had to really do the deep dive of Minnesota, you've always kind of felt like that they've always had really good personnel.
Can I just add real quick, because I'm very skeptical Mike Zimmer guy, because I picture him as old crusty. Mm-hmm. So this morning I was just looking at the nerd numbers thanks to Cowboys stats. And Mike Zimmer is the head coach of the Vikings. His defense is the third best defense in football over his head coaching stretch in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So even as a guy that I perceive as being old and crusty, it's hard to be good at defense consistently.
It is.
Because who you play against and how they play offense dictates a lot of it. But if you're a top 3 over the span of your head coaching stretch, I could be wrong about Mike Zimmer. You might want him.
Yeah, I think what Mike brings is toughness. I worked with Mike in the early 2000s. I don't want Mike, and maybe things have changed. I didn't think he was a very good evaluator. I think that's the one strength that Dan Quinn had coming in, that he had the understanding of. Him and Will got together and really did a great job of remaking this defense. But I will say this about Mike. Mike is extremely attention to detail. Mike is very tough, and Mike's very accountable. You've seen some of these post-game interviews and stuff with Mike where he looks like he's an ass.
Yeah.
That's Mike.
He seems abrasive.
Yeah, that's Mike. That's
what
he
big
is.
dips at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. But that's the thing you have to know about Mike is, but you're going to get a guy that's not going to let guys just kind of do their own thing. He's going to make everybody accountable for their job.